All right. Hello and welcome back. It has been entirely too long. I have not done any repairs lately. I've been doing stuff over here. You can see I got part of my floor in, and this section over here is going in later today. So I've been busy working on the house, working on other things, and dealing with component shortages. It's been really hard to obtain parts, even capacitors right now. Because everybody in China is hoarding parts and jacking up the prices. So um, it's been difficult. I haven't been really doing any repairs just because I haven't been able to get parts. And I've been having to explore different brands of parts, which I normally don't like to do. Um, but that brings in a new adventure for us. So I'm going to get my camera positioned where it needs to be, and we'll get into today's project. But yeah, things are going to be a little bit different, at least until the market stabilizes. You can see I've done some work on my little workshop area here. I made a shelf for my component boxes. I needed more bench space, and I needed access to a microscope because I've been doing a lot of surface mount stuff for work. So we'll get into that a little bit. I know it's early. I don't usually stream this early, but you know what? It's Black Friday today, so this will be my Black Friday special, I guess. Um, so yeah, I've modified my bench. I've made it so that I have a microscope that I can swing in and out and adjust and um, do some small surface mount stuff with. So that's been handy, and I needed more space on the workbench. Today we're going to get into a Klipsch R-112 series. This is a 112. And we're going to do the quick and dirty repair. And part of the reason is because these capacitors are in extremely short supply, and I just can't get them. They're out of stock everywhere. So, and that's these two right here. Also, these amps are, they're not that old. The capacitors really aren't wearing out on them. Yeah, they're not the best capacitors used in this, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the working repair to get it working, and then I'm going to extend the warranty that I normally do for a year to 2 years on them. So that's how I'm going to deal with it. That will help with the capacitor shortage, and it will also help me get through some of these faster because I have probably about 100 of them now that need work. And that's entirely too many. So we'll get into this one and get it done. And part of the reason that I need to get through all these too is I need to make space because I want to finish working on my house. And I can't do that if I have speakers and amps all over the place. So everyone wins in this case. Get some equipment finished. Show everybody how to do it the quick and dirty way. Now, one of the things that, I will do since I'm doing it this way is I still need to check and make sure that the glue is not going to be an issue. So anywhere where there is a potential short with the glue needs to be corrected. And that means it's got to come off the board. So mainly in this area over here. All this side is audio circuits. There's really no power on it. So the glue's really not going to have any issues there, but you still don't want it touching the board. If it's on top of the caps, that's not a big deal. If it's on the board, we're just gonna break it off, get it off the board. So there's like a couple little spots here that are on top of a transistor. We'll get that out of there. And we're gonna get the cap. We're gonna bend the caps out of the way too. So the caps that we're gonna replace are the two big ones. This 330 here, and these two that are right next to the resistor. So that's really all you need to swap out to get these guys back and running stable again. In the past, I would just do all of them just because they're kind of cheap caps, but like I said, it's getting hard to find parts. I'd rather extend the warranty and hedge my bets that they're going to last. And they should last. I mean, the parts that are in the audio circuits are not really, stressed. They should be okay. If I have somebody that sends in an amp and they do want it fully recapped, I would definitely recap it for them. I'm also going to charge less for the quick repair. So, hopefully that will make sense. My new way of doing it, that I do it entirely now, is putting the resistor on the bottom of the board. It's just, a couple people recommended try that, and so far it seems to be pretty good, because the resistors don't really burn up. And in the new ones, they put those large, let's see, I saved some of them. They put those large ceramic resistors in there. I don't know where they are. I put them, I'm not used to the new locations. Here they are. These guys. Just because your amp has one of these large resistors stuffed in like right here doesn't mean that it's okay. These still get hot. The resistor getting hot is not the problem. Even the factory resistor is fine. It just it cooks the caps. Cooking the caps is what does the damage, not the resistor getting hot. So keep that in mind. And I didn't even power this thing on to test it. I'm just assuming it's bad, but we'll measure some of these, just for the fun of it, measure some of these caps and see where we're at. These things are a pain to get out. They bend the leads on these. And if you've watched any of my videos, I'm sure you've heard me whining about people bending leads. So this is the one that's usually bad, the 330. So we'll grab our cheap Amazon capacitor tester, because I couldn't afford a B&K, or I didn't want to afford a B&K, and let's see where we're at. So this one's at 277. Not great, but starting to fail. It should be 330. So it's about 60 out. Not too good. And we'll check these other two. I believe they are 22s that are next to the resistor. And I just put a 5-watt resistor back in here. I know the ceramic ones that Klipsch thought was a good idea were 10 watts, which have proven to not be that good of an idea, because I've already serviced a handful of these that use those 10 watts. So yeah, these guys are 22, the two right next to it. So let's see what these are. $18. So I mean, they're all lagging in value. The problem is this guy right here, this resistor. He gets too hot. And he cooks the caps. This would have actually been a really great setup if they would have used a switching power supply. An extra $3 in the amp to have a switching supply that runs at very low heat would have, there would be no returns. These things would last probably 10, 15 years if they just would have made that simple change. But They did not. And it's not Klipsch, it's whoever designed this amp. This amp is not designed by Klipsch. I don't even think Klipsch makes amps anymore. Yeah, this is just an off-the-shelf power supply, 300 watts. And I don't believe they designed this board. Maybe they did. Just the amp board. But I wouldn't be surprised if this amp board was used in like Infinity or some of the other subwoofer brands out there. Jammo. This one's a little closer at 18.9 here. Let's go down a little bit, get a little better rating. 18.6. So these are a little bit closer, but anyways, those are the 5 caps that really need to be replaced to bring this thing back to life. And then we got to get this glue off down here. Got to get the glue off. The glue is equally as bad as having some bad caps on there. So I'm just going to work with a little bit of heat. Temperature is going to be 120 C, somewhere around there. Not too hot, not too cold. I can shut my solder sucker off for now. We're just going to heat the glue and peel it off. Comes off pretty easy when you warm it up. It gets kind of rubbery. But if the glue's starting to turn brown and it's touching things on your board, that's when you got to worry about things blowing up. So, and I've seen a few people with a few boards, you know, that have traces burned off and other issues. So the glue is your problem there. And I know this is a weird angle and I'm trying to get in here to show everybody. Best way I've found to get this glue off is to get it stuck in a pair of tweezers, heat it up, and start twisting it. And it just kind of rolls up on itself. Scraping it works too, but it's not as effective as getting it all up. Especially when it starts to brown. Sometimes, I mean, you can't avoid that. You got to get in there and pick and peel it out. But you got to be careful. You don't want to tear anything off the board. You know, these little resistors and capacitors on here are pretty small. So you need to have a little bit of a delicate. Also, don't aim it at your fingers either, because that hurts. If it's on top of the components, that's not the end of the world. You can try to get it off. Sometimes you'll have luck, sometimes you won't. But don't be afraid to get it heated up. Get a little more light over there if I can. But don't go, I wouldn't go hotter than 120. Even 120 is a little warm. You don't want to soften up the solder or warp the board or cook the capacitors that are remaining any more than they already are. 120C seems to be about the right temperature. And you don't have to heat this up to peel it off. It'll come off by itself, you know, just picking at it, but I think it's much harder to do that way. But if you don't have hot air, you know, you could use a blow dryer too. Blow dryer would work. Hair dryer. Heat gun. I would not use fire. Fire would probably be a no-no. I know there's some small precision like torches available, but I would try to not use fire unless you know what you're really doing. I have used fire before in soldering. Sometimes if you need to clear out a through hole and the ground planes are just too large for your iron, if you heat the backside of the through hole with a tiny torch, it will allow you to suck it out. But you got to really know what you're doing. Hold on one second, wife's calling me. Okay, sorry about that. So work this glue off. Anywhere it's touching the board that you feel it will cause a short based on what you're seeing, get it off. This is probably the most annoying part of the repair. The new amps with the white resistors do not need any glue removed. They use silicone-based glue. They learned their lesson probably from watching videos and seeing my posts on the Klipsch forums. I doubt that's the real reason, but I'd like to just take a little credit for it. But the glue that they used is different. It's silicone-based, so it does not get nasty and brown and cause shorts on the components. With this side of the board, this is all power. Everything on this side of the board has to do with the power supplies and the power that's going to the outputs. So you want to make sure that there's no way you're going to have a short on the outputs of the power because of nasty brown glue. Now this one I'm kind of lucky on. There's really no glue in the back by the output transistors. Usually there's a ton of glue there, and this one doesn't have it. Sometimes you get lucky. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm kind of not paying attention. I did move my camera so that I can get my head in the video, in the shot less. I watched a couple of my videos when I was just playing around on my computer, and half the time everybody's just looking at my head. Now the little bit that's down here by this coil, you can leave that. That helps keep the coil in place, and there's really nothing around or under it that it can short to. So that little bit can be left there. I need a new kickstand. I need to make a better kickstand for holding up my amps. But we're done with the glue anyway, so you can drop it back down. Give it a little inspection there. So we cleaned out everything that was in here. There's nothing touching the MOSFET. Some of the crispy glue behind the MOSFET we can just pop off of these caps. And we're going to do our best to bend all these out of the way. Just fold them over and make sure they're not we might have to cut a few of these. Cut them separated with the glue. Just take an X-Acto knife or razor blade just so you can get it in there, and then we will fold them over, just getting them away from the heat source. Making sure nothing's shorted. Little transistor, we can even push him over a little bit. So just getting him out of the way, and then straighten this guy back up. We'll stand him vertical, and now we can start rebuilding. Well, these are not my normal Nichicons. I can't get them. They are out of stock for the next couple of months at least. So these are Nippon or United Chemicon, same company, but also a tier 1. Same ratings as the Nichicon or Nishon or however you want to say it has. Same cap, just different brand. So I mean, it's still a high quality cap, but these were all I was able to actually find, and when I saw a few of them in stock, I swallowed them up. Hopefully they'll remain in stock. I should have bought more, but we'll see how long these last. Hopefully they'll last a while. I'm just going to go ahead and use the solder sucker to put these in. And the reason I'm doing that is the ground planes on these are kind of a pain, and they require a lot of heat. So I'd rather just make sure that I get them all done in one shot versus doing them with the iron first and then going back and having to do them again. So I don't know if there's any other problems with this plate. I'm assuming there's not. We're just gonna, go through it, power it on, and see what happens. If there's another problem, then we'll try and figure out where that's coming from. Typically, though, it's just those 5 caps. You replace those 5 caps, and your amp will be happy. Not always, though. Not always. So don't be discouraged if you try that and it doesn't work. Let's see, these caps connect into those large ground planes, so you need a little bit of heat to get them to play nicely. And I'm pre-trimming the leads because I'm not using the iron, and I want to make sure that I get in there and get them soldered in good. So killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. Alright, I need 2 22s, 1 330, and a resistor. 2 22s. A 330. I believe the 330s are 16 volt. Yes. The other ones are 22s are 50 volt. And those go right next to the transistor there. The transistor does not get terribly hot. I'm just going to clip all these before I put them on. Get them kind of situated and snip them first. That way I don't even have to bother with my iron turning it on. Tack one, straighten it out. And then put the other one in there. So you don't need fancy tools. You can do this with just one high-powered solder sucker, 100 watt. If that's all the only tool you had, you could probably do most of these repairs with just that tool alone. I don't know if it really saves time, but I mean, I'm not in a hurry and I don't really need to save time. I just don't feel like powering up my iron. tack one, get it positioned how we want it. It really helps with the ground planes when you have that extra heat. It's incredible how much better it is. Especially since, like, I can't even get this through the hole there because it didn't clear the hole. That extra power on those ground planes makes a big difference. Right through. So I've in the past I've folded these over. Since I'm putting the resistors on the bottom, I'm just going to let it stand up. That shouldn't be an issue. The lead spacing's a little different on this guy. The reason it's thicker than the old one is it's better temperature and life rated. It's not a hot area of the board anymore, but why not still put the good caps in there? There's really no reason why you would go down to a 85-degree C-rated cap. You know, if you can put the good one in there, put the good one in there. I pretty much only use 105C unless I absolutely can't get it in the lower value. And with the resistor, I fold the leads in like that, kind of form a little triangle shape, and then I take a pair of pliers and I put about a 1/8 of an inch of leg on the bottom of them. Just enough to get through to the other side of the board. And that guy plugs right in. Now I bottom solder this, so I will use my kickstand. Make sure that it's straight. This pad here, the large pad, is like the thermal relief pad. So you want to make sure you get that blobbed up with a big solder ball. Normally I would say not to do that, but since this is a thermal pad, it's okay. Same with the connection that goes to the transistor. You want to make sure you get a decent amount of solder on there too. But just kind of add a little bit of heat and blob some on there. That really just helps with the thermal. Helps transfer the heat. And then we got to fold it over. How high you want to fold it is kind of up to you. I just take something that I have that's round. And just kind of push it over. That is it. That is how I do these now. And it still fits inside the box. It's not at risk of touching anything. It's spaced off the board. You know, you have air in there, so this amp sits like this inside the speaker. So air can get underneath that and it can come up. I usually put a little blob of silicone on there just to keep it from vibrating. You don't have to do that, but you know, there should be a decent amount of airflow. There's no components around it where the heat's just getting trapped. When you have the resistor sitting like this on the bottom of the board, the heat wants to rise and it has nowhere to go, so it has to hit the surface of the board and then it washes over the board until it comes over the edges. So the heat's just concentrated there. This way the heat can just dissipate. So let's plug this guy in. Let's see what happens. I gotta find all my power cords and everything because I haven't Haven't done any repairs in a while. But hopefully, this guy will fire right up, and then I can go eat breakfast, because it's pretty early right now. What time is it? It's only 8:40 in the morning. Never up this early. Well, I am on work days, but I'm never doing this stuff this early. I usually do this at midnight. Alright, we got our speaker hooked up. We're going to hook our power back up. This black glue can sometimes be a pain. If it is just a little bit of heat, not a lot, just a little bit of heat will take care of that. I don't re-glue the JST connectors in. They have self-locking tabs on them. I don't see a need. Seems like overkill to me. Alright, our volumes are going to be turned all the way down. Our gain is going to be turned to LFE. This one has a broken switch in it, which I just noticed. 2 broken switches. Well, let's see if it works with the broken switches. What I will probably do for this one is I'll put this one on eBay and I will hardwire it to be in auto mode and phase at 0. It's not worth replacing the switches on it. It's too much work. So this switch knob here will just get broken off. Let's see if it works. It might not work, and it's probably going to be because of the switches. But that is kind of an easy fix. Let's see what happens. Should have probably checked that before I even messed with it. And no sound. Oh, it's trying to do something. Here, let's go full power, see what happens. Nope, I am not. It is not behaving. And it is not behaving because somebody destroyed the switches. Alright, let's turn the power off and fix those switches really quick. Make sure that they are indeed broken. The knobs are definitely broken on them. Such a shame. How do you break these switches? Like, I don't... Yeah, this is definitely the problem. Definitely the problem. So, well, here, let's go through this really quick. This is how you repair the switches on. If you really want to, you can take all this tar off of here. I don't do it. That's insane. It's way too much work. I snip the leads. And you really only have to snip the top 2. The bottom one you can leave. But you do gotta get this cap out of the way here. It's glued in, so cut him free and bend him out of the way if you can. And snip. And snip. Unfortunately, this is really the only way to, in my opinion, to do this. It is not worth the time or the effort to pull this board off. Yeah, turn the power off. Definitely turn the power off. And then we're going to go through and heat. Pull one leg out. Pull the other leg out. Now, if these switches were just connected in by these pins here, that would be fine, and you'd be able to get them out. But they're soldered in with tabs way up here in the corner. Like, I have some switches. I'll show you what they look like. Let's see, where are my Klipsch switches at? Here they are. So here's what the replacement switches look like, and they have these two little ears right here that go way up against the board, and even if you unsolder them, you can't get them out because you need to be able to pull them down, and you can't like rip them out. You'll damage the board. I've tried 100 different ways to get those things out of there, and there's no easy way to do it aside from just removing the entire board assembly. And since they put all this glue on, I mean, this glue is thick. It's like 1/4 of an inch thick right here. I did it for one guy, and it took me 6 or 7 hours to do. I said I'll never do it again. It's just not worth it. Alright, so we want this to be in on or auto, and the phase is going to be 180. And that's actually a 3-position switch. So I have to remember which one goes where. And I'll grab another board, actually. That's what I'll do. I'm going to break this guy off. Actually, I'm not going to break it with my good cutters, though. I'll be mad if I ruin those. Pair of lineman's pliers, that'll work. You can see how easy they are to break. Actually, these thread in. Oh no, that's a spring. Never mind. Never mind. It tricked me for a minute. I thought that was threaded. So let's here, grab one of the other many, and you can see that's a 3-position switch, top, center, bottom. So we want it in auto, which is the center, and those pins. Let's see what pins those are. So I'm going to guess that's going to be top 3. Nope. Nope. That's nothing. That's open on the circuit for auto. If we go to on, that is the top 2 that face this edge of the board here. That's always on. Auto doesn't connect anything, and standby connects the bottom 2. So this switch is an on, off, on. And then for 0-degree phase, it's also going to be the 2 that are closest to this edge of the board. That was not good. I just threw a bunch of switches in the garbage. Bear with me a second. I'm not going to throw those away. Maybe putting my garbage can under the parts is not a good idea. Alright, so switch number 1 we do nothing to. Switch number 2, we gotta connect the phase to the 2 pins back here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one of these capacitor legs that I cut off. I'm just gonna bend it into a horseshoe and make a jumper out of it. And then I'm going to solder it in. Why would I throw an amp out just because the switches are broken off of it? You know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I'll make this so if it does, you know, need to be changed, that somebody can go in there and actually change it. This I will use the iron for. So if anybody needs an amp and they set it on 0 phase and auto on, this will be up on eBay. That's it. Alright, let's try testing again. This time it should work. We have no switches. That's not the end of the world. Let's just go right to full power. Power it on. And we have sound. Not bad. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Let's see if we can show you the sound. I don't want to get the meter out today. I'm being lazy. It's early in the morning. Let's see if the camera will pick it up. I don't know if I can get some light in there. Let's go way down in frequency. This is my beautiful... Oh yeah, there you go. Uh-huh. Speakers always look weird and cool on camera. But it's working and it sounds beautiful. I should build one of these into the table so like when I do all my tests you can see it working. And I know that woofer said Logitech on it, but that's actually a Tang Band 10-inch driver. Logitech used Tang Band drivers in their Z5500 sound systems, and at one point I had very many of those. And some of them I couldn't repair, so I saved the parts from them, and I got a really good test woofer out of it. Good 10-inch test woofer. I suspend that from a bungee cord so it dampens the sound and I can hear it and it doesn't, you know, go through the entire house. But quick and dirty repair. So I don't know, how long are we in here? 43 minutes? Okay. So half of that was spent talking. Not too bad. So if you don't run into any other problems, you can get one of these going, you know, in under an hour. If you have the parts and you know, you can do a little bit of troubleshooting. I didn't pay attention to the switches being broken off of this one. It's not the end of the world. You know, somebody will just use it when it's in auto mode and phase 0. And if they have a broken amp, you know, I'll sell this at a discount and everybody wins. It stays out of the garbage and somebody gets their sub working again. So I'm going to try and do a few more of these repairs today. I need to get this area over here cleaned up because I have work to do down there, and the only way to get it cleaned up is to start processing these amps and getting them repaired. So this is a quick one for now. I'm going to go eat some breakfast. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you later.